understand technology doing my job. I have a brain. Like, I want AI to do my laundry, to do my chores. I don't want AI to do my job. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of This Might Be Legal. I'm Hooriya, your host for today's episode. If you've ever wondered what it really takes to build a business from scratch, across cultures, to different personalities and completely different time zones, you're in the right place. And if you're expecting a polished corporate success story, this one has a few plot twists. Mine started in the most unexpected way. A very .com application that I almost ignored. I was 21, a fresh graduate, trying to apply for jobs left and right and just receiving rejections over rejections. Then one day, I get a response from a law firm based in Switzerland that just had a presence in Switzerland and Malta. After all those rejections, I assumed that it was a scam. So I replied very politely saying, "Thank you very much for the offer, but I would like to stay in the UAE." To my surprise, the response was, "We're setting up in the UAE." And fast forward a few weeks, I'm called in for an interview at the Dubai Marina Hotel. I show up in a full suit, hair done, crisps, document ready, and printed. And I'm expecting a very formal, a very serious man, suited, showing up. And every time someone did walk by in a suit, I stood up thinking that it's him. Then a tall, bald guy dressed up in an orange polo shirt, collar up, torn jeans, walks towards me. He walks towards me with confidence, trying to initiate a conversation. And at that point, I was like, why is this man coming towards me? I'm already stressed. I just don't have time for small talk. I'm thinking, why is this random guy trying to chat with me? I'm already very stressed. So I say, "Sorry, sir, I can't speak right now." And it turns out that he's actually the founder of the firm, the very guy who's supposed to interview me. In my head, I told myself, great start, Hooriya. Really smooth. Anyway, we start walking towards the cafe. We're making small talk. And mid-step, he turns around and asks me, "Where are you from?" I said, "Pakistan." He stops walking, takes a 360-degree turn, or if I may say 180-degree turn, looks at me as if I just said something, as if I just said I was from Mars. And in my head, I'm thinking, fantastic. The guy is Swiss. He's racist. I'm never going to get the job. But nope. Turns out he was just Swiss. Direct, blunt, and unfiltered in the most unimaginable way as possible. That moment pretty much set the tone for everything. An unexpected interview, which was not very traditional. There were a lot of questions about what do you like, what do you dislike. It was more or less like a personality test. And midway, I was just a bit confused that when is he going to start asking me legal questions? Like, am I that useless that he's not even touching on those points? Anyway, the interview was very comfortable. It was very warm and welcoming. And towards the end, he asked a very interview typical question, which was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I was so comfortable by then that the response that I gave to him, I don't know why, how I did, and I said what I said. I told him, I see myself where you are. When I said that, I told myself that I made the biggest mistake. I went back home and I told myself to forget about the interview. Surprisingly, a few weeks later, I get a message that says, "You're very young, Hooriya, but I'm willing to train you." So I got the job, and just to let you know, after 4 years, I wasn't where he was, but I was made partner at that firm. And the man who made that call, by that time, he built an office in Geneva, started off in 2007, expanded to Malta, with a focus on financial services regulation, and was now setting up in UAE. He's been a mentor, he's been a challenger, and possibly the only man bold enough to hand a 21-year-old girl responsibility of setting up and running his UAE presence. We've clashed more times than I can count, and we've had our fair share of both incredible highs and painful lows. We're completely different personalities, but somehow it worked for more than 14 years. He's the founder of Lecocqassociate and technically the real host of this podcast. And today we're pulling back the curtains on the story behind the firm, what it really takes to build a business, grow across continents, navigate personalities, talk about the struggles, talk about the challenges and how to overcome them, and still stay standing. Dominique Lecocq, welcome to your own show.
Thank you. I think I'm blushing probably a little bit, right? So you've been really nice to me and kind to me today. I remember that day quite well. I was staying in that hotel, the address, Marina. I was coming and going. We didn't have an office. I already had 1 or 2 clients in Dubai. And then I said, let's set up there and then we'll see. Without thinking about anything, to be honest. So we put an ad on Bait. I didn't do that myself. Actually, it's another friend of mine who did that for me. And we met on that day. And funny enough, our office, the first office, was very close to that hotel right after, across the road, right, in the DMCC quarter. And it was a good time. That I also remember that polo shirt. To be honest, I have it still. I don't wear it. I think it's outdated, but now I switched to blue.
Look, even today, I'm kind of suited and booted, and you're very well dressed and casual. It still reminded me of that time.
The orange shirt, I think I still have it in my wardrobe. But I think blue is better for me now. Okay, I have a question. If it might be, or it might have been a bit informal as an interview, and in honesty, that's the way I've always been, right? So, and when I ask about people about their nationalities, also for me to assess their culture, where they come from, and I didn't know much about Pakistan at that time, so I was quite interested to all that region, Pakistan, India, and then for me, it's culturally a new discovery 40 years ago. If it was tiny bit out of the box, why did you accept that offer?
Because I was jobless. I'm just kidding. Before taking the interview with you, I was interning at a very large law firm, very corporate, very sophisticated, very much by the book. And the energy that I felt over there was an energy that didn't match my energy. I felt that something was bringing me down. It was a bit depressing. And it just didn't suit well. It didn't feel natural. But when you took my interview, you made me feel very comfortable as a rookie. I didn't know anything. I was flaunting probably with all the internships that I did. And let's admit it, when you're somebody who's a fresh graduate, the fact that you've done 5 internships or 10 internships, it never really teaches you what a lawyer is actually supposed to do when you start real work, right? So you made it very comfortable, you made it very realistic, and you indirectly, you don't even realize it, but you indirectly gave me the confidence to speak about myself very easily. So it was a very different tone, you were very different, and it seemed like it would be fun to work with you. And it seemed like I could learn a lot from you, because I remember the day you interviewed me, you told me that you have kids and you're 36. And at that point in time, I was 31. And today, I'm almost 36. And you are 60?
No.
70?
No.
No.
80.
80?
I'm 49.
Okay, that's right. So it was very inspiring for me to see somebody at such a young age achieve so much. You had set up Geneva, you had set up Malta, and you were on your way to set up the UAE office. So I was just in awe of whatever you had achieved, and you were really, really down to earth and humble.
Yeah, you remember what I told you about the legal profession? What it is about?
Well, you've always coached me throughout these 14 plus years, but you've always told me one thing, that it's 20% knowing the law and 80% working on the facts. You can be somebody who knows the law upside down, But if you're not able to provide a solution to your client and apply it practically, then you go sell ice cream. That's what it for me.
And that's exactly what it is, right? So if you are unable to assess the facts of surrounding a case, whatever it could be in litigation, could be in structuring a bank, it could be in corporate advice, you need to understand what the clients want, and all of that are factual questions. Applying the law is an easy one. So spending a full interview about a legal capacity, it's great, but at the end, you need to assess the facts. So you want to see how people think, how their brains work. So that's how I was thinking about the interview at that time. And I still now, to be honest. Now we do a legal test now.
Yeah, now we do a legal test because times are different and there's so much competition, right? But what made you hire a young girl who has no experience in the field, and the type of law that you actually specialize in, it's very niche, it's financial services. So what made you think that this person, or in any of your interviews, what actually makes you decide that this person would be my who,
Yeah. You always think when you hired.
Yeah.
So when you come out of the university and you become a lawyer and then you ultimately set up your own firm, you always think that people will work like you, that they are who you are, right? Or they have the same experience than you. When I was a trainee lawyer and was a junior lawyer, none of the partners ever really helped me, I never really had a mentor. So I was put into an office and I had to actually find a solution myself. So you learn by yourself by looking at the files and trying to replicate at the beginning when you don't know, replicate what has been done in the past. So age doesn't matter. What matters is the willingness to learn, the willingness to grow, the curiosity, being curious, who, how, when, all these questions. And when you're able to ask yourself all these questions, then you're able to assess facts. Then it's not that every legal complications are easy to solve, but 80% of them are solvable. 20% of them, you need to be an extremely good legal practitioner to solve them. But so when you interview someone, you look at their eyes, their willingness, their energy, and then you have the right energy. You want to actually spend time with that person to work together.
But that's a bit dangerous, because if you talk about seeing through somebody's eyes, you and I have, in certain situations, a little bit of a differing opinion, right? So tell me if I'm wrong to say that when you hire somebody, it's very similar to getting married, because marriage is a gamble. So would you say that hiring employees is also gamble?
Maybe more when you start your business, because you have less choice. When you start slow and small, and of course you interview people and they have the choice coming to you and trusting you, or going to larger law firm. Most of them would prefer, for their own curriculum, go to larger law firms. So you need to be smart in your selection. When your brand starts growing, then of course it becomes easier. When you have more staff, you also realize that you can diversify a little bit the personality of the people, always keeping an eye on making sure that the team fits together, but you can have different personalities. You can even maybe afford a diva once.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit and put the spotlight on you. It's 2007. There are no partners. There are no investors. It's you with your computer in your office. Why did you think it was a good idea for you to leave a comfortable monthly paycheck and do this to yourself? Why?
Look, it was not only me. There was a staff in Geneva and in Malta. There was one or two employees, one or two associates already there, and it was growing. We were growing in the field of regulatory finance, so setting up investment funds, setting up banks, all the dealing with financial regulators. But look, it was always a vision, right? So I wanted ultimately, having 7 offices, 100 lawyers. And that was a goal that I've put myself. Why do UAE? I don't know. It was a bit of a bet, and I think it was sometimes you just follow your instinct, and it was a good bet, because the UAE has picked up very beautifully since then, and thanks to the country and what has happened, and thanks to you as well.
What I want to understand is that you've always worked for very large law firms. You were earning well. What made you leave that comfortable monthly paycheck and think about starting your own business, putting in your money and doing something on your own when you could have just received a comfortable paycheck every month, right?
Anyway, so look, it's a personality issue. I'd say. Sometimes, I say like no risk, no fun. Of course, you can stay in Geneva. You can get your large client and make a comfortable life, and but you need to do what satisfies you, right? So I've always loved to be a traveler. I always love to meet other people, other cultures, to try to do something new. And that was the goal, right? So my goal was always 7 offices, 100 lawyers. Yeah, I could have stayed there, get a nice saving, and I took a risk, and it was a good risk to me.
Was it hard?
Yeah. Well, look, you mean the days where you wake up in the morning and you're a bit stressed because then you see that everything falls on your shoulder?
Yes.
When you try to do something, it's if it doesn't happen, then probably something is wrong, right? So, or you don't realize the complication. So I was bald at that time. I lost probably some additional hair. I'm still, on my head, great now. So it's probably a combination of stress and anxiety sometimes, but with a lot of pleasure as well, right? So you're satisfied when you achieve something. So and especially a stable venture.
And when did you actually start thinking that this is not just an idea, it's actually working out very well for you? Was it when you got your first big client, or was it when you got your first client? When did the vision that you had actually seen for the firm that you wanted to set up actually become fruitful?
I think recently it took time for me to.
This is 2007?
Yeah. I say recently. I don't think I had a mentor. As I said, when I was a young lawyer, so I was working in Zurich. So I was in a small office. I had my small desk into the maze room, and I had to take a staircase to go to the main office. At the beginning, when I was in Zurich, it took a year and a half for them to set a value and put me down closer to the partners. But I didn't really have a mentor. And so when I set up my own firm, I've probably made a lot of mistakes. Actually, not probably, I've made a lot of mistakes. So I've learned by in the hiring process, in dealing with certain things, maybe being impatient. Starting something is one thing. Then it's the easy one, right? Especially just getting an idea in motion is one thing. Keeping it alive and growing it is another exercise.
How do you do that? How do you keep something alive and relevant? And also keeping in mind that you set up a boutique practice. How did you think that your boutique practice would stand apart with work and would survive alongside all those big firms that you were competing?
Yeah. So when I set up, at that time, I remember I was a junior lawyer, so we had to actually go and meet all the member of the bars association, right? So, and I remember we had that meeting at Baker McKenzie at that time, and it was one of the member of Baker McKenzie was part of the bar committee, and he says, yeah, nowadays, if you're not a big law firm, you cannot succeed. It's difficult. Big clients want big law firm, and I said, oh, wow. So that means that there's no chance for anybody to set up their own firm. You know what you're talking about. If you become an expert in a field that is relevant, if you're able to attract based on a network or based on something you have, people that trust you, you can set up your own venture and keep it alive. So was it easy? No, it was not easy. I set up the firm exactly at the moment where the Madoff crisis came, So I was setting up a firm in regulatory finance. Mainly, we were at that time doing investment funds, and Bernard Madoff exploded at that time. So that means all the investment fund industry is being shaken. And was that easy? It was not easy.
I'm just going to pivot a little bit and try to highlight and see how we can give some tips to to the founders who are currently in the process of setting up their startups. In your experience, what's one legal trap that early stage founders should watch out for?
Look, there is not only one. The list is huge, to be honest. One thing you need to be careful. I don't know if it's legal or not, to be honest.
It might be legal.
It might be legal. Taking a lot of friends and having a shareholders agreement for which there is unanimity change certain documents. I've seen so many businesses going down because a tiny shareholder doesn't give a consent later on because of disagreement. You've said it. Starting an idea is easy. Maintaining, it's where when you start doing it and you have to maintain it, it's where all the problems arrive, right? So that's where you want to make sure that the main funder has the possibility and the right to achieve its mission and not be prevented to do so by a minority shareholders that can veto something, right?
And I remember that you would always tell them that, look, everything is fine till the time things are fine. The moment something goes wrong or the moment somebody just feels a bit shaky, that's when you will remember me, that I told you that, listen, let's bifurcate things.
Oh, look, the way it works is you spend time doing those documents and then you send an invoice to your clients. They always find it's too expensive. And then at some point, sometimes they call you and say, oh, your contract? Thank you. And I've seen that recently. One of the shows agreement that we've done for a corporate advisor who started with two partners. One of them left. Now, at that moment, they were like, it's okay, we're fine. We have the same visions. We're never going to fight. There's always a fight or there's always a change in personal life where someone wants to exit, and that's where people start reading the documents. At the same time, I also understand that this is a cost for clients. You start your business and you have to go and see a lawyer who tell you all that you have to do all these documents, all these bills coming in and costs while you haven't yourself started generating any revenues. And I can understand it's also problematic for some clients.
One decision that you've made that you regret, other than the ones where you didn't listen to me, there are multiple occasions for that.
I regret. Oh, there's probably not only one as well. And maybe hiring a bit too fast sometimes. It's important that you assess those unique ability is, hire slow, but hire well. I've probably at the beginning also got a lot of people around me did not spend enough time to train them. You face a problem as well where you say, okay, it's quick if I do it myself. So then your people around you doesn't necessarily learn. And then you have people, you have work, you have yourself, but actually you are the one doing most of the work because you don't have time to delegate. So the mistake is learning how to delegate better, quicker.
Because we're talking about leadership right now, it's a bit sometimes difficult. You've built something, you have a reputation, it's your baby, right? And you want to protect it. And you'd rather take the hit on yourself than to give it to somebody who's probably going to ruin it for you. But then where do you draw the line of delegating something to somebody 100% and then trusting them with that work? How do you do that? When do you know that you're able to trust an employee with the work that you want to give them?
So let me return the question to you. So when you think I started trusting you and you were able to reach out to clients?
I honestly don't know exactly when was that defining moment, but I do believe it was when I was able to provide a solution to a problem that I faced myself. I think that was one of the defining moments. We had a situation. Obviously, I can't name the situation, but that's when I thought that you were able to trust me with the work.
So look, you would want to have everything perfect only,
yeah,
right? So the best scenario is that you have the best employees, you have the best clients, you have the best firm, you provide always the best work, your reputation is on top. But that's a dream, right? You need to accept that sometimes you're going to fail. Look at the bigger companies. We can take the bigger law firm, but let's take companies that are well known, like Nestle, UBS, JP Morgan, and all these huge companies that have histories of. And then we, from the outside, when we look at them, we look, oh, they are so great. They look so organized from the outside. But if you go inside, you see all sorts of mistakes as well, right? So a client that was not satisfied by an employee, the response, the time to respond, or the quality of the analysis, or most of these companies are probably also getting sued from time to time by suppliers and everything. But the average makes it the good decisions are the number of good decisions are higher than the number of failure, right? So, and that's what makes your company move forward. So sometimes, if what I've learned, from delegation and to delegates, you need to agree that sometimes something will go wrong and that you may lose a client. What you need to do is you need to readjust. So remember what I told you at the beginning. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to meet people's expectation. Then you need to make people dream. The clients prefer to work with someone that does 80% of the work well, and is a really nice person, fun to be with, than a complete asshole that does 100% of the work well, that like the beach, each time you pick the phone, you're scared of what it's going to be. But the fourth one is to readjust. So you need to know that sometimes one of the first three will not work so well, so you need to readjust. And that's where it makes you progress, right, in your firm. So some regrets you've asked me, of course, we've lost one or two clients because I was not behind, and I could have been behind a bit more on certain things. But when we look back, don't we have much more clients now than before?
True. But I think that's probably the difference between you and me. You're a risk taker, right? And I am not somebody who would take as much risk as you would. So I don't see it as a failure, but I just see it as a disappointment, But I guess that's how you learn. I think you need to unlearn and you need to fail in order to go and succeed.
And don't you think that a good entrepreneur needs to have that fear of disappointment? If you never have it, then that means something is missing in the course of your business, right? You don't see the problem. So of course we all want to please everybody, and like, since it's gonna be a podcast on YouTube, right? Every client that have been disappointed once in a while by our firm, like we apologize. Let's apologize. But it was not intended and stuff. But it is true that we have grown a lot. We have way more clients than we used to have. Is that something was right?
True. And now I just have a question that again is linked to leadership, and it's quite important for founders and for people who are looking for jobs in any domain to be very well aware of employees, how to communicate with them, and just hiring the right people, as you said, right? One thing that a entrepreneur or a founder would at some point struggle with, especially if you're in a boutique structure, is striking a balance between rewarding people who've been there for years, loyalty, versus rewarding people or hiring somebody who clearly has the skill sets when it comes to producing the work that you need, so that 80% of the work is done, but they're not able to fit in the culture. So how do you strike a balance? Because I understand that loyalty is really important, right? It works both ways. But at the end of the day, you need somebody who does the work for you and doesn't make you work as well, right? I know it's a bit of a direct question, but how do you strike a balance? And do you ever feel guilty? What goes on in your head?
So you cannot have a full team of only of faithful people that do not perform, right? Otherwise, you end up having all the monkeys on your own shoulder, and then you have to do all the work yourself. So that's again a balance between the selection of the people in the hiring process and the training you can give to those people. Likewise, you can have having only a superstar that can do all the work in your office would probably end up clashing at some point as well, right? So it's like building an orchestra, right? So you need to have skills. So you need to have people that are playing that instrument, some other instruments, and then maybe a singer, and then all of that needs to taste good, right?
Yep.
Look good. And having a firm is the same thing. So you need to have your close people that knows the system and they're faithful. You also need to have performer. If you can combine the two, it's great. And you see also people are not necessarily married with you, right? So they come and go. So your team changes. Sometimes you have a team of amazing performers. Sometimes you have a team of a mix of amazing performer and faithful people. Sometimes you have a more difficult team that you have to readdress. We had those moments.
What's one thing that every founder estimates?
Estimates or underestimates?
Underestimates, sorry.
So that is something that I've learned over the years. I think you really need to assess whom you have in front of you. And not everybody is good at everything. Sometimes you have employees that are willing to be good at something, but that's not the unique ability. The unique ability in something else. So in being able to redirect and change their vision about what they're good at performing, building the team is something that is the most difficult, I suspect. Placing like in an orchestra, every instrument at the right place to make sure that the balance and the rhythms and the melody works perfectly. That is a challenge.
And if I may add, communication. Communication is key because you think you're clear, but you're not.
Do you speak on me?
No, I'm just saying it out loud for people to know, right? Because as a partner or as a founder, you have so many things to get done in a day that sometimes you think you've given instructions, sometimes you think you've communicated something in a certain way, but it's all in your head, So I think it's very important to have a clear set of communication. That's really it.
It's that's something
Did you feel attacked? No, right?
Did I improve over the years?
I think you did. The new you, I think you did. Yeah.
And there's the new me.2, which is the ChatGPT one, right? So it is true that sometimes my messages are a bit short.
Yeah.
Like with tech now, it's easy for them to be so polished and so nicely drafted. So I became a much better version of myself.
Through ChatGPT.
Whatever technology.
Technology, yes. Okay. A few quick lessons for somebody in year one of building their business.
Don't be afraid. You have to go fast, even if it's not perfect. I think a lot of people are willing to wait for perfection to go out, and that doesn't work. You always have the time to readjust. Don't be afraid and find the right people around yourself, or fast enough, find the right people. You cannot do everything yourself. It's impossible. So you need to be able to, and it's a challenge to get a vision, to get an idea and a vision, express it, get the people around you that shares the vision with you, find a way to finance it. So sometimes you may have, cash flow is oxygen, right? So if you have the cash flow, you're in a better situation. Sometimes you don't have the cash flow, so you need to find a way to get people in motion with what you have, and don't stop, right? So don't let hardship put you down. The road is always full of enemies that will tell you all what you should not be doing and how you're gonna fail. There's very few people happy for you, probably your mother, probably some members of your families, but a lot of people are not necessarily always happy for you if you succeed, and if you fail, they will always tell you, oh, I told you, I knew it, So all this good advice, yes, you need to stop listening and don't listen to the others. Just achieve your goal.
What do you think made Lecocq stand out? We're obviously not the biggest firm. You were never one of the biggest ones, right? But we kept growing. So what is that one thing or two things that you think stands us apart, really makes us stand out? Except for me.
You're trying, you're triggering the shy in me, right? May I ask you the question back?
I think for me, from my perspective, if I talk about you from my perspective, I think you've been solution provider to anybody who has not touched a door. You've given solutions rather than spotted problems. You spotted the right problems, whether they were intricate, whether they were minor, whether they were big, but you've always come up with a solution. And there's one thing that I always remember, you've hammered that that always stay in contact with your clients. The clients or the prospect would always remember the last person that they spoke to. Then the third thing is keep on connecting people to each other. Do something for synergies. Do something for somebody so that they can remember that you did something for them. And at one point in time, whether that pays off or not, that's fine, but they will remember you. So it's planting the seed of somebody remembering you that, number one, they did something for you without any ulterior motive. Number two, they provided you with a practical solution which no other person was able to provide because they kept on hammering with legal jargons or all the problems. And number three, just being human and being a chameleon, right? You need to be a different personality in front of every other person that you deal with. It can't be the same Dory.
Yeah, because clients come with a different level of stress, right? So some they really have issues to solve, and you need to be they need to feel protected.
Yeah.
Some they know exactly where they want to go, so they need to feel you need to be a companion for them. Some have different personalities, so you have to adapt yourself. That's what often lawyers do not do, right? So they have their corporate way of being, and they're as if you're at the university, and they don't change, right? So the clients come, they open their code of obligation or the law book and say, okay, well, no, you cannot do this, it doesn't work, here's the bill. And that's not really what I would like for the profession. I would like, we are lawyers, but being lawyers is being an advisor, not only in legal matters, but again, we're coming back to in factual matters. The number of times we had clients that came and says, I want to do that structure, or I want to do this. And then you say, okay, but you can just stop here, and it says it doesn't work. So you can try to understand, but why does he want that? And most of the time it's because his best friend or his friends or the trend is doing that, but it's not the right thing. So he's not the expert, or he will not come and see you. So you want to say, okay, you want to actually fundraise, or you want to develop a trading company, but that's not the way of doing it. You can do that in another way, and then just plant a seed, depending on who you are from. Sometimes you give him the solution. Sometimes you just have to wait until he's convinced that you're right, because you will always have another lawyer telling him that everything is possible, and until he realizes it's not, right?
So as a lawyer who's solutions oriented, for the young lawyers or for lawyers who are very much within the box or who are too scared to cross that gray line or we work within that gray line, where do you draw the line of being solutions oriented versus playing with the legalities?
Yeah, that's
a debate that I've always had with you.
That means you need to be able to assess your risk.
Okay.
Often not everything is a risk. The worst lawyers, the one that overprotect their client, they are coming and they're reviewing a contract, and they trick it in such a way that their client is well protected, but the counterparty is not willing to do a business under this condition. So you need to protect your clients where he needs to be protected, not everywhere. And of course, communication is key. Then I'm probably a better communicator with clients than with staff member. But tell them, look,
yes,
here there might be a risk, but I don't think that risk might be realized. To allow them to do businesses, right? So and to move on in their business, right? And to maybe later on readjust. So it's not a perfect solution now, but at least it will help you to move on to the next stage at a reasonable cost. And then we're gonna assess that when money will come in or where another partner will come in, and then we will always be able to readjust that whole thing. But overprotecting your clients from day one is, you have as a lawyer the feeling that you've done your job correctly, but don't be surprised if clients at the end are not so happy, because their counterparty would just tell them, look, I'm not selling to you, I'm not doing business to you, or I'm going to find another partner.
And pricing. We all struggle with that. I still struggle. How do you price yourself? How do you price the products? And what do you do when somebody tells you that, oh, this is a long partnership, we want to do more work with you, so give us a bright...
The promises of the bright future, Yes, I know that.
Are you still facing some clients, or?
Look, yes, but I think we're not the most expensive firm.
Yeah.
We're not the cheapest firm. We know what we provide. And at some point, at some point, question of pricing is crucial, right? Because your liability does not go away because you've reduced the price. It doesn't proportionally diminish because you've cut your fees. Now, the question of pricing in a law firm is problematic, and I understand that that it's expensive, and it's expensive because we work still very manual. So now things will be shifting because technology is there, and then we will be discussing. It might be the subject of another podcast, but things will be shifting. But for the time being, lawyers have had to get a kind of an average hourly rate, which satisfies nobody. It doesn't satisfy the lawyer, doesn't satisfy the client, because a lot of the work that we do are somehow low value work for the clients, and it's like more admin legal work when you have to readjust a contract, and it takes time. So the consequence of doing a mistake in that might be expensive for a client. So you need to do it, but the human resources doing it with your finger on a keyboard takes time. And likewise, or similarly, when you have a 1 hour call with a client who has a 10 million or 20 million or 30 million issue, and you solve that problem, then probably that hour is too cheap, at that same hourly rate. So it's something where the business model needs to change, right? We need to, and technology is coming to actually change that. I love lawyers do not see it coming. In 5 years, the profession will be completely different. And that's where...
Am I in drama?
No.
Okay.
And that's where, having 7 offices and other lawyers, that vision that I had at that time is slowly shifting in my head, because you need to adapt to the new environment, and the environment is changing drastically.
I understand that, but I would differ on that. I understand that technology is at some point going to take over in a certain way, and it's already taking over, but the human element is still needed, no matter how much we can rely on technology for so many things that we're doing correctly, right? I don't believe that a human lawyer is necessarily going to be out of the picture.
No, I don't think it will be. And I don't think technology is able to replace lawyer as it is, but you should not assume that in the future it will not be. And for instance, we see that already. I mean, we have a very good tech in the office that you will see sooner or later litigation cases being judged by a robot judge. At least the first instance, not saying that there will not be a human a human judge on the second instance, or, in the appeal court to come, but that will change. Being able to go much faster, so much faster than we do, giving a couple of ideas and giving a direction, and then letting the technology to do the rest. Already working. It's already there, and it's already working. There is a lot of issues with data privacy, attorney privilege, confidentialities that we need to be careful of. So it requires still as a full set of a law firm, but it's there. Humans nowadays, we trust more humans. So we see technology as a tool for humans to be better. So that's why the B2B technology is having the wind in the right direction. So it's growing. But imagine in a number of years, and I think sooner than what we think, when you can have robot being able to surge a robot, medically do an operation, and it is more precise than a human. Medical analysis, text drafting, doing your audit. You throw in a machine figures, and they're able to see discrepancies, and it's already working, right? So we already use those things. The robot does a job that is as good as human, but for the fraction of the cost. I think it's a topic to believe that people will say, no, I want only to work with a human, and I want to pay the high fees because humans are slower. So it's a shift in the industry, and you need to be really careful about what will happen if you don't want to, like species, right? When there's a change of climate, you need to adapt or die. And that's a crucial moment where law firm and other professions in the advisory sector, financial advisory, financial analysis, needs to really assess and look what is happening. Otherwise, I might die. It's scary. Are you scared?
Very. So for me, appreciate and I respect the technology that has been created so far. I use it as well, but I maybe it's me, my brain, but for me, I see technology really as a threat. I want AI to do my laundry, to do my chores. I don't want AI to do my job. But that's I really feel threatened, and probably we should switch our ages or whatever. But yes, I do have an old granny soul trapped inside me. But I I I don't get it. I appreciate the work. I appreciate the output. I appreciate the time that we're able to save. But the thought of being replaced by technology and technology doing my job. I have a brain. Like, think of all these years, like the time that you spent to think and draft things. And now you have all the newcomers or somebody else who's able to put something in ChatGPT and they'll be able to see, oh,
But you look, I was like you, and we've all seen this movie Terminator, with where obviously robots are replacing, they can self-decide, and they will replace humans. I think we're not there yet, right? So we're in a technology that will help us. We need to agree on that certain task. We need to let go and focus on other things. Look, it's scary. At the same time, we will have also the ability to have more clients, knowing that 10% of the people having legal needs go and visit lawyers because of the pricing. That means 90% of the people who needs us do not have access to us. And technology will ensure that a lot of the things which are commodities in reality are being done for the clients. We need to agree to let that go and not charge or not march on those. But then we can march on that special advice that we have, on that special call that really matters. And that's 1 hour, 2 hours. Perfectly when we draft a contract, 80% of the work when we draft that in our bill is actually manual work or you and your keyboard fighting. And if that can go away to some extent, be a commodity, then you will still be able to make a margin on the rest. And you will be able to also accommodate and tap into that 90% of people who are willing to visit you, but are not able to share. So it has positive things, right?
No, true. I don't deny that. It's just my perspective. It's just a threat that I feel. But okay. So that leads me to my next question, given that we're talking about technology and advancement. So looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of Lecocqassociate or the legal industry in general?
The firm is here to stay, and we will still grow, but we grow differently. We will, going back to tech, we're going to use tech a lot. We've already started doing that, and we already have the difference because we are big enough to afford it and small enough to take decision and take risks, right? So on those aspects. So the firm will be surrounded by technology, and it's already being implemented. There's a number of things where our lawyers will spend less time in doing admin work, but they will be spending more time doing high level complex legal questions, right? So I think legal firm in general and any other firm that is being impacted by AI will probably decrease the number of admin staff, so that we have so many in our firm anyway, and use and rely on a tech to perform a certain number of tasks. And we'll see how it progress. It's one change, right? It's a new direction where that industry is taking in, and it's welcome because the legal industry has not moved for years. When I was a trainee lawyer, when I was, very young, 21, 22, we were already working more or less the same way than we're working now, right? So with Outlook, Word, Excel, it was all existing, right? So what has changed? Legal research is a bit quicker, translation is a bit quicker, but what is the rest? Yes, you have autocorrect for your typos.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. From a businessman's perspective, from an entrepreneur's perspective, it sounds very nice. Like, you want to be the licensor rather than the licensee. You want to make sure that you're in the forefront, right? Before the industry is wiped out, you want to make sure that you're still relevant. And that's why you're taking over that lead to introduce something that will still keep the profession relevant in a different way. Now, if I turn around the table, if I switch the question, what do you think employees or new graduates or lawyers who are currently still working in a traditional way actually feel about that? Do you feel that, let's say, employees in the firm, do you think that they feel threatened for their job? Do you think that they're going to be sacked? They're going to be replaced? How is that technology actually going to enable them to continue their profession?
No, in our firm, nobody is sacked. That's also one thing that we don't fire people easily. I will probably throughout the entire history of the firm, you can count them on maybe one hand's fingers, right? So I understand for young lawyers nowadays that are in the profession, it's very difficult because they've been trained under the old model. And then in 4 or 5 years, it would be a new model. In 5, 6 years, they will already be trained with the new model. So it would all be gone. So no, you need just to adapt, right? So whoever likes to draft long documents will have to agree that you will just have to instruct, And to some extent, remember, I don't know, you might not remember, but for my dad's time, right, so where nobody had necessarily a computer on their desk, and there was a dictation, they were like speaking, and then you had to be really structured in speaking, and then you had a secretary, an assistant, would just type everything for you. Nowadays, it will be the same thing. You would be able to speak to your computer. You don't have to be that structured anymore because then the computer is doing the structure, but you can give ideas and save and then play with it. I think it will be more fun being in that position rather than having to yourself each time find a perfect word, find the perfect things, and spend a lot of time on that, which clients often do not see. We know the value it has, but sometimes it's difficult to communicate to clients why it has value, why we need to spend time on this, and they don't understand. So I think that will solve a problem.
Okay, so it's not a threat to existing employees in any firm, and it should actually be seen as a tool that will probably lead them to have a good work-life balance.
It might be, yes. And I think a good work-life balance is something you can still have today. And we can tackle that with you, Hooriya. But
right. Sorry, I don't. Did you say something?
I said I would be happy. That would be my next question to you. But I think maybe format of large firm where large entities and large advisory firm, where you have a lot of employees might maybe reduce the size. So I don't see if technology is able to do a lot of things, due diligence as well. You have big firms because sometimes you need to deploy 10, 20, 30 lawyers for one file at a time. Technology might help so much. So I think you don't necessarily need to be, you will not necessarily need to be a large firm to be always the more significant, some to tick the box. So I think a large firm will have to probably decrease a little bit in size. So no, don't avoid that. What about the work-life balance?
Yeah.
So was it difficult for you?
Oh, it was very difficult for me.
And why that?
So I think that's primarily because of, number one, you as a person, you as a person in the sense what you expect out of yourself and what you think what others expect from you. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the work-life balance, what I've learned from my mistakes is that there is a role for the workload and for the organization to play in disturbing it. But at the end of the day, you have the reins, you control the reins. So you need to know when to switch off. You need to know when to set the boundaries and communicate. Just because you're in a certain position and you want to please somebody, or you don't want to hurt somebody, or you're always at the fear of oh, what if this doesn't work, and what if something goes wrong? I think that's a mindset shift that every person needs to adapt. And sometimes, it's okay if something falls apart if you're not around, because it's not really that bad. It's not as bad as you think it is. So being able to set boundaries, being able to say no, and obviously taking vacations.
Yes. Be able to let go.
Yeah, that true.
Being able to let go. Not everything is a problem. Sure. Or not everything will remain a problem. It's self-solved.
True.
And you haven't followed your good advisors.
But now I'm following. Look at me, I'm smiling. Okay, so founders hot seat time.
Oh,
This is a rapid fire, so you need to be quick. You're not allowed to breathe as well. Are you with me? No, you're breathing. Stop. Stop. Okay, let's start. A legal mistake that nearly cost you.
oh, not a legal one. As I wanted to be at the beginning a control freak. I did not spend enough time with my kids.
Biggest financial mistake in your first year.
Invoicing more frequently.
And how do you build trust when no one knows you?
Well, if no one knows you and you don't have a brand behind you, like you're not from a big firm, you're the brand. So you have, and if you're new to it, so you're no brand, right? So you have to make people believe that you're a brand.
One trait that you underestimated in hiring.
Not everybody thinks like you.
One rule you run your business by now.
Not how?
Okay. Did that really work for you?
Yes.
Okay. And you still apply that principle?
I constantly and trust people, let them do, and less behind, and that it works perfectly wonderful.
What keeps you going when everything feels stuck? I'm sure there are days when you wake up in the morning and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? There might be days, right? So
Every day. So what keeps me going? My alarm clock. I wake up and I go.
that's it.
Job needs to be done. Let's go.
And was there ever a point in your life when you just wanted to give up?
Yes, one time where I said, look, let's sell everything and let's be at the beach.
Like probably you were in love at that point in time, right? Like, and somebody broke your heart. I'm sure it's not business. Was it really business, or you were in love and somebody broke your heart?
I think it was a combination of the three. You know perfectly which time I'm picking up.
Okay, but the point is, you as a successful businessman, a successful entrepreneur, and I must stress that you are just not involved in the legal industry. You have other verticals as well, in which you've invested and you run the show. It's very normal for a startup as well as a successful business owner to feel at one point that you feel like giving up, you feel like shutting down, closing, or you feel the struggle. It's normal, right? It's not always shiny and perfect, right?
Yeah. So the question is, are you tired or are you fed up?
Yeah, that's the question that you always ask. Yes.
So my dad passed away a number of years ago. He did give up a lot, and yeah, it's not for me. I'm gonna change and stuff. And I've seen where it brought him, and I think probably so it's probably a child trauma. So I'm just always asking myself, if I would stop now, and I would go at the beach in 6 months, am I going to regret that and be bored? Or I'm going to be so happy? And I think I'm still there where I think, after 2 weeks, I'd be bored and I would regret that. So it means that I'm just tired, but I'm not fed up.
So the difference between being tired and being fed up is the continuity, whether you would still want to continue what you're planning to do, right?
Yes. Well, if you're completely fed up, that's when you need to have a shift. It's no longer your unique ability. And then you need to find something else that will make you happy.
But is it fair for us to link happiness to our work or to our job? Because not everybody is finding happiness in their work, right? Sometimes they're just doing it because they're either good at it or it pays the bill. So what would your advice be? Set up a business or work at a place where you feel happy, or do something that you're actually good at?
Okay. For me,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to answer that. That's a spiritual question to those.
Okay. But spiritually, just being neutral, what would you say?
I think it's a puzzle, and that puzzle is is no longer set. And every of us is a piece of that puzzle, and you need to find with which other piece you can actually recreate that puzzle. And so if you are good at it but you're unhappy, if you are happy but not good at it, or if you're unhappy and not good at it, and if it's just because it pays the bills, then probably that job is not the right piece that comes into you. So you have to keep on looking. And I think there is a possibility, and I know it's not easy for everybody, right? Because you need to understand what you like and what you don't like, and but there is an element where you can be happy, you can love what you do, you can be balanced, and you can have that balance in your life that works. And of course, it's very fragile, right? So it can be disturbed quite easily. Then it takes a bit of magic to keep it alive, right? So, that's what you need to look for.
Okay, I forgot we were in the rapid fire, so we need to be quick. So, what's the worst advice that you've ever received?
Don't do it. You can fail.
One embarrassing moment in front of a client.
Look, you know perfectly, you were there, I think. My dog. So we're in a conference room with that really important client, one of the top of the wall. And my Dachshund take a shit in the conference room. And it starts smelling like anything, and we don't know what to do. And the client was polite enough not to say anything, and yeah.
So how would you handle a situation like that if the client was not polite? What would you do?
And make it short.
Okay, that's good. Have you ever entered a meeting unprepared?
Yes.
And how did that work for you?
Experience. You can afford to be. You should not be unprepared, but it happens from time to time where, especially you assistant putting one meeting after the others, and thinking that because you are a partner, you don't need to breathe and you don't need to pee. You barely have time to take the next file. So and prepare for that. So it has happened, but of course, then what you do is you use the client to prepare yourself at the meeting. So you take a file and you ask them questions, and then you start brainstorming with your clients, and so it becomes a different meeting, right? That's what it is.
Okay. Would you see yourself entering into politics?
Look, I've been asking myself a lot. The problem is like that it's another ball game. So what I've never done that is you need to have time, and time is already something that I need. I also have changed quite a lot over the time we've and I do believe that you can only change a society by changing people's hearts. So you can be, unless you're a dictator, and you impose and you with brutal things which you don't want to be, because then you don't, if you on the forefront change things, but in reality people's heart are not following you. You have to set a model, you have to set an example, and you have to change people's heart. And then when you change people's heart from the bottom, then you can start leading on the top. But starting from the top without having a chance to change people's heart, see what is happening. I know more the politics in Europe, but look at France. It's just, you can put one after the other and you're president. It's not going to change anything. You need to have someone coming from the bottom, either from the left or the right wing. It's irrelevant. But whoever will be able to touch people's heart will be the next president that will be able to move the country to the next level.
Okay, you survived.
They get a trophy?
No, you won't. You get to close the episode, okay? But before we do that, I just have one small question. If someone listening to the podcast is actually thinking about starting a firm, or let's say joining the firm like I did, what would you say to them?
I think I would say don't listen to everybody that show you all the obstacles and tell you it's not possible. Yeah. But I have a question for you. To every 21 years old girls that comes to an interview, what you tell them?
You're not being scammed, but you are about to get schooled. And don't worry, it's all worth it.
Fair enough. But thank you for joining me. I would like to also to thank you for all these years. And it has not always been always easy, especially the 4 times you sent me long letters. And at that time, there was not ChatGPT to summarize them for me. I had to read every single word. But my career would not have been the one I had if you would not have been next to it. So I just want to thank you for everything and thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you very much. I am who I am today because of you. You've been my mentor and you've been a sounding board for me. So thank you everyone for listening. And if you've made it this far, you probably deserve a trophy as well. So if you haven't enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe. We'll be back next time with more stories, more lessons, more guests, and probably more moments that we shouldn't put on record. Take good care. Bye-bye.